Hi, I'm Tara Lilly, fractional CMO. Thanks for joining another episode of What Am I Even Doing? With me today is Steven, partner, digital position. They are a Charlotte-based growth agency doing full funnel marketing for e-commerce and B2B brands. Steven, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I definitely want to talk about a lot of stuff with you because you've had such a crazy journey in your career just within the last 10 or so years. And I wanted to go back, take me back to how you ended up in digital position. Technically, you didn't start it, right? You helped scale it.
Correct. Yeah. So it goes really far back. I I've been in digital marketing since 2010. I worked at a couple different startups. Then I actually got into coaching, swimming in college for a little bit, but quickly realized that although it was really fun and I had a lot of passion for it, that wasn't ever going to pay the bills. Um, it only took me like 1 year to figure that out. And then I got another job in digital marketing at a company called Resolution Media. And Resolution Media is owned by Omnicom Media Group, so one of the largest digital marketing agencies or global digital marketing agencies out there. But at that job, I had the I gained a ton of experience working with just huge companies, right? So Fortune 500 companies, everything from Mercedes, FedEx, Lowe's, and I was overseeing Dick's Sporting Goods for the majority of my time there. I was overseeing a team of up to 20 people at one point on that account, and we were just managing all their paid media. And back then, it was really hard to manage somebody's paid media accounts. Also, it was a lot cheaper to run them. So, right, like I remember seeing CPCs of 5 cents for Dick's Sporting Goods, like just a branded term. But we also just needed hundreds of different spreadsheets, Excel sheets, and just marketing was just way, way different. Anyways, worked there for about 4-ish years. I started climbing the ladder pretty quickly, but I got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm leading this pretty big team. I'm working and managing a massive account for Dick's Sporting Goods. I think I was overseeing like $55 million dollars in spend every single year. I was like, and I feel like I could just kind of do this myself. Like the writing was on the wall when it comes to where paid was headed, like the tools, technology, the efficiency that was happening. So there was one weekend that I was up at this tournament, volleyball tournament up in Pennsylvania, and I met my future partner Roger there. We had actually gone to school together. We played on the same volleyball team. So random because volleyball for men's volleyball is just like such a like a unique sport. It's really cool, by the way. But there's only, a handful of high schools that even have a men's volleyball team. But we played together in high school. And so we got together and we started talking, and he was like, hey, I do digital marketing. And I was like, so do I, blah, blah, blah. And then we went into, we got to talking about each other's backgrounds. And then he pitched to me, he was like, well, I'm doing my own thing. I have like this company. It's just me. You know, what do you think about just joining me? And like, we try to create something, like try to create an agency, like with your agency experience and with my being Rogers in-house experience, because he had worked at a couple different businesses handling and managing the internal paid management teams. We're like, okay, we have like the best experience put together, and we can create something that would be, we would take all the different like pros and cons of working with an internal team and the pros and cons of working with an agency and just make like the best agency experience possible. So that's how digital position in my journey with that agency or with this agency started. And yeah, we were making like $100,000 in that first year, split between us, and then eventually we grew it to what it is now, where we're on pace to hit like 6.5, maybe $7 million this year.
Wow. Okay, first of all, the 5 cents cost per click is wild.
Yeah.
Oh my, and that was that like paid search that you were doing for Dix, or was it like a like social
Yeah.
too?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
paid search. We were doing some social, but still everything was really fragmented back then. Like if you
Okay.
were really good at social, it was just so different from managing somebody's Google or Bing accounts or Yahoo at the time.
Hmm.
So yeah, the way that you went into those platforms, the way that you managed it, the way that you looked and analyzed data, it was just so different. So it was kind of separate.
Yeah, it's I bet that even just trying to connect all the dots then was crazy just for tracking. But so you met Roger, like that timing's crazy. That's
Yeah.
wild. And then you're like, yeah, let's do this. So you guys, that was 10 years ago when you joined Digital Position. No, it was more
Mhm.
than 10, right?
Yeah, it was about 10 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. And then you guys scaled it where it is today for over 6 million. So tell me a little bit about that journey. Did you guys know, hey, we want to build out a team, or did you have a vision of what you wanted to be at this point in the business, or were you just trying to tackle each year as you went?
We always sat down and we created a financial forecast and goals for the company every single year. And I remember like the first year, it was myself and Roger, and his sister was helping with us with bookkeeping, and we met at his dining room table. I broke a chair because I leaned too far back, and we ordered like one pizza because that's all that we could afford.
Oh,
But we were like, okay, if we can't get to $250,000 in a year, then we should probably dissolve the company, because at
oh
that
wow.
point I could go back to, Roger could continue doing his own thing by himself and make over $100,000. I could just go back to an agency and make $100,000 or more, or whatever, and life would be a lot easier. All right, so that was our goal. Is like, all right, $250,000 in that first year or bust. We exceeded that. I think we hit like 300 something $1,000, and we just kept that momentum going, and we felt like really positive, and we felt like we could build something. And then that next goal was $1 million, which I believe it took like 2.5 years or 3 years to hit the $1 million. But yeah, I think there's a lot of mistakes that we made in the beginning, and I think a lot of people probably hear about, hey, like, are you working in the business or on the business? And we were definitely just working in the business the whole time. And especially in the beginning, when all you really care about is generating more income, you pretty much have to, right? Because that's going to be the most
Mhm.
like fruitful, the most scalable, the most profitable way to keep growing. But that was a big mistake. If I were to do anything over again or create a new company over again, I would definitely just start hiring just the best people possible. But like that first and second hire, it should take you a long time to figure that out. Like it should be like a marriage, right? Like you got to date somebody, and then you have to figure out like if they're like a really good long-term fit,
Mhm.
because you will eventually want to grow with that person, and probably, give them equity in the company too, or some sort of like scaling compensation. But the first like one or two people are so important, and that's where we missed, and we didn't focus on that, and we were too focused on growing at the rate that we could handle the business, if that makes sense. Like
Mhm.
yeah, we had blinders on, and we couldn't see the forest through the trees.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Just being able to work on your business, man, that's very difficult to make time to do because yeah, I hear you. It's like, well, I got to work on the stuff that makes me money, but even getting the talent and the right employees in the right seats at the right time, that's a special formula. So when you guys started out, you obviously had the agency background. Roger already had an existing business. How did you guys get your first set of clients to get to that 1 million? Was it all referral based?
It was a mixture, but what's kind of funny and a cool story is I remember literally just going out to bars. I would go out anywhere. I would walk around Charlotte. I went to office buildings, and I would just tell everybody the story of, why we started Digital Position, what we were aiming to do, what we could do for them, and just tell everybody who's willing to listen. And yeah, knocking on office doors, literally just asking them if they run paid ads and if I could do it for them for like $250 a month, something crazy like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Just knowing that, well, especially back in the day, you would say, hey, I'll run your ads at $250 per month or 5 or 10% ad spend. And at that point, like back in the day, charging a percentage of ad spend was pretty normal, just because, hey, if you scaled somebody from $5,000 a month to $500,000 a month, which we did, it's definitely worth their time. Like the amount of skills and hard work that it would take to scale somebody back then through paid was extremely difficult. But yeah, it was kind of like guerrilla marketing, just boots on the ground. Literally, yeah. Like I just remember going to the design center over in Charlotte and just knocking on everybody's doors, and most people just didn't answer. Some people were like, nobody's ever done this to us before. But I did find one client. It was Features, and they answered the door and they let me come in and talk to them. So
Oh my, oh wow, that's so brave. Like, I mean, you're telling everybody and knocking on doors. You know, people would be like, "Oh, I would never do that." That makes me so uncomfortable. But I
yeah,
think when you're in that place, you just have to, right?
yeah. When it was Roger and myself and we were splitting and sharing $100,000 in revenue, or maybe it was like a little bit more. I mean, you'll do anything. It doesn't really matter. Like, how can you live? There is zero future unless you go do something that makes you uncomfortable. Like
Yeah.
there was no
Ooh,
chance. Like nothing was getting handed to us. There's no reason why somebody should work with us at that point either.
that is such a good quote. That is such a good quote that there's no future if you're not willing to do stuff uncomfortable, because that is completely what growth is pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. I love
Mhm.
that. You started another agency. You started a second agency called Spark Launch, and then you sold it. So, what was that experience like? What did you learn from building and selling a business?
Yeah, so digital position as we grew, as it's probably like what everybody does, even if like you're like literally any company, right? You'll take on any type of business and then you try to keep working your way up to finding bigger and better businesses that will pay you more. Eventually, digital positioning got to the point where, hey, our retainers are just higher. Everybody thinks that you're the only client, so you have to keep that in mind. And we just realized that, hey, there was clients that were paying us $250 a month. Maybe we scaled them up to $700 a month, whatever. And they still wanted all of our time, and we were focused on a client, clients that were maybe paying us $5,000 a month. Like some at that time, it was like extremely substantial income and time and effort that we needed to spend on them. So we spun up another agency called Spark Launch that we felt like we could move all the smaller clients over to. And especially like when we started blogging and doing some of our own marketing, we just realized that there's like a ton of people that were like, hey, I just opened up a Google Ads account, or I'm like a really small business. Can you help me at digital position? Or when I put like my digital position hat on, I was like, well, you're not like really a good fit. I can't take on 100 clients that are just paying me $250 an hour, but like they all expect like 10 to 15 hours of my time, like a week, right? That doesn't make sense. And at that time, when we spun up Spark Launch, there was starting to be like the craze of using VAs and that kind of stuff. So we just figured that like, hey, if we were open and transparent with them and said, hey, we're going to keep the cost pretty low for you guys as like a smaller business. We are going to be outsourcing some of that talent, and we'll be able to keep the cost low. You guys could work with Spark Launch. But the cool thing was is that we would always say, we take all of our processes and everything that we do from digital position, and we go implement that into Spark Launch, but we just have different people executing, or cheaper talent executing. It got to the point though where we did grow. Maybe we had like 40 accounts. We did, I want to say like $500,000. And it was like pretty good, but it got to the point where it was just like too much work. And even at that point, we just didn't do a good enough job, maybe like scaling the infrastructure or like the talent that was needed to keep growing. But even so, when you think back at it, it was like, well, we probably would have needed a couple thousand clients for it to be like really worth it. And then just building out like a massive team overseas or something like that. But then we still needed US workers to actually be able to communicate. And then, yeah, if you still have digital position and that's really the cash cow, or that's like the main objective, are you really putting that much effort into this second like side hustle or second agency? No, it's almost impossible. So that's one of those takeaways that, yeah, like the thought process behind it was really good and solid. Was it really worth the time? Probably not. I think the biggest lesson learned is figuring out how to say no, because those times where you don't say no to people or things or services or whatever, that's going to eat up so much more of your time and energy, and you just don't realize it in the moment. So it's really more of like the opportunity cost for not saying no at that time is like really important to kind of like understand, or maybe get guidance from the outside if you're like a small business owner.
Ugh, saying no is can be so hard. You're not wrong in that. That can be, especially when you're like, oh, I see the dollar signs, but you're like, those are the wrong dollar signs.
Yeah.
You don't want to go down that path. So how today in digital position, like how do you guys do you have certain parameters in place where like we say no to these types of opportunities?
Yeah. So what we did is, even as a service, you have to productize your service as best as possible. That doesn't mean that the delivery needs to be robotic and super productized as well. But just as far as like your offering and what you're saying that you'll do, in a general sense, that should be productized. And if anything falls outside of that, like SKU or product that you've created, you should really say no to it, right? Like, if it's somebody's like, well, like I'm just looking for like that thing that's like pretty close to the service but a little bit different, you'll end up saying, okay, well now I need to tweak this process. Now I need to go tell somebody who's going to execute the differences, and then now you have to like watch over those deliverables and make sure that it's what that client wanted, and it just messes up everything in the business, and you get out of like the flow state of like what you're all aiming for. Yeah, it's really hard to understand, especially like when all you really care about is growing at a certain time. But I guess like if we at the time had productized everything and all of our offers like even more clearly, and then set those strict parameters, we would have said no more often. And then the second thing that's super important is if you hop on a call with anybody within the first half an hour to an hour, you pretty much know if they're going to be a good personality fit or not. And that personality is, man, that's a huge piece, right? Like somebody who's going to be overbearing, too demanding. Maybe it's somebody who thinks that they know like there's a lot of people that are like, I'm going to hire you, but I think I know better. So basically, I'm not really going to listen to you, but I'm going to try to force whatever I think like that you guys should do. And then we're stuck trying to please a client so that we can collect that paycheck. But then we know that we're just delivering these subpar results because we're listening to the client too much, and finding that balance. Or maybe it's like somebody who is just like won't really treat your team or your employees with respect, and that's a problem too. We've definitely fired clients because of that. Like, if you ruin the culture within your team, I mean, then you're gonna lose like some of your best employees. So.
And that's a very important asset. But I'm glad you said that because I do think it's difficult for businesses where there is the revenue opportunity, but you're costing your soul. You're costing your soul because you are basically having to work with someone who is, like you mentioned, demanding or controlling or whatever it is. And I've actually had that happen recently where the money was going to be really, really good, but I was like, I just can't, I can't work with this person. Like it's just not, I have the red flags going off left and right in this call, and it didn't work out. And it does stink from, as a business person, like I really would have loved that revenue, but there's going to be other opportunities that pop up too. It's not, you don't have to put all your eggs in every single opportunity that's going to end up being just really bad money.
Yeah. And
And
it
you,
just distracts you from doing the things that you know you need to do, right? Like, so if you're spending that extra time, if you know you can deliver your service and what you say that you are doing in X amount of time, but then you're working with a bad client or something that's not a good fit, like let's not always blame it on the client. Maybe it's just not a good fit. And then you've doubled the amount of time spent on that. The opportunity cost is exponential because maybe you just lost time spending like trying to like create content or maybe improving efficiency within your business, right? And most people just can't see that at the time, especially when you're smaller.
yeah. Oh, yeah. And you recently flexed that muscle of saying no. You spent a year consulting on the side and you walked away from it. What did that year teach you about your time, like actually having that work-life balance?
Yeah, that's a really great question because it was super eye opening. At first, I was like, man, I want like this side hustle because I want the business to be able to like run without, without 60 to 80 hours a week worth of my time. And I should be able to do this on the side and all my experience, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So my experience consulting was that I was making some extra income. I was eating up all my other free time when I wasn't working. I took on way more problems than what I signed up for. So I don't care if you are an IT consultant or a marketing consultant or whatever kind of consultant, doesn't really matter. You will end up, especially if you're working with smaller clients, you're going to end up bleeding into other areas of the business and absorbing all these other problems that you didn't really expect or sign up for. Like, it was maybe it's like personalities and like working with different members on the team. And then you're like, now you're a therapist to like some people on the team, or, you're just doing all these different things that you didn't really expect to do. And I already had that going on with digital position, right? Like I already have my own team. I already have my own personalities that I need to work with. I have a family. I have like all these other things going on. I want to do my own, like, I want to have some fun in my life. Like I stopped playing rec sports, which I mean, that's the one thing that I love doing, right? It's like still playing like volleyball or flag football or whatever it might be, kickball, all these different things that you can do in Charlotte, which is great. That kind of goes away. And yeah, it's really just like taking on all these problems, losing that time. And then but you need those experiences to realize that, hey, maybe like time is more important than making an extra $50,000 or $100,000. It doesn't really matter. Like if you don't have that time, you can't even spend that money. So who really cares?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're just working all the effing time. Like you mentioned 60 to 80 hours. Like, good Lord. So, what's your advice for someone who, and this is not abnormal, I'm sure a lot of people already have side hustles with their full time job, but what's your advice with someone who wants to start consulting or do a side hustle with their full time job?
Yeah, I would say you really need to sit down and think about one, what are you passionate about? Are you passionate about the work that you're doing at that current job, or are you more passionate about that side hustle? And then two, what's the opportunity there? Like for example, in your career, is the opportunity stability, a paycheck, continuing to grow, being able to check in and check out from 9 to 5? I mean, for some people that's amazing. Like that's actually really, really valuable. Or as your side hustle, like what you really care about and what you want to do. And I would just say that, yeah, while you do want to diversify your income as best as possible, right, and all these different sources and whatever, you should probably just pick a lane, right? Like if you are really passionate about this side hustle, just make it your hustle. Don't make it be like a side hustle, right? Like if you're, it's kind of like saying like, I'm like dating this person, but I have this other person on the side. I mean, I could do both, but like, are you really growing that relationship or putting what you need into, one relationship or the other?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think it's kind of a good way to think about it, just because like my advice would just be pick one and just be really good at it, because you have like a better opportunity to put all your effort into your current job and move up faster or make more money, whatever it might be in that current career or in that side hustle. You're never really going to be good at that side hustle unless you spend all your time in it. Like, how can you just be really good at something doing spending
Right.
10 hours a week on it or something like that? Like, you're
Yeah.
not going to be good at it. Like, if you were going to go play soccer or something like that on the side or whatever, and you expect to be really good, like, can you even be good at soccer playing 10 hours a week? Like, no, or I don't know, or 10 hours a month. Sorry. Like, I don't know. No, like you'd have to put like full time into it, like effort, study, practice, do it, whatever. And that's what side hustles are, man. Like, it's just a side hustle. And it's going to end up being like a waste of time, I think.
Yeah. Betting on yourself, man. Just do it. Just go for it.
Yeah.
It's it's rewarding and it's a journey. And yeah, it's gonna. I agree. I can't. I used to do wedding photography outside my full time job for 14 years,
Yeah.
and then I just got burned out. And it was great for like a creative outlet, and I didn't depend on the money. It was just for fun. But then it got to a point where I'm like, you don't have the weekends, like from spring to winter. You don't have no weekends, and all your evenings are editing or taking photos. Then you're like, what am I doing with my life? Like, what's
Yeah. That's what you did in your free time.
yeah,
So that ruined
yes,
that. But like, if that was your full time job, then you probably would have had your weekends would have shifted. It would just be like maybe a Monday and a Tuesday are your weekends. But like, are
right,
you really the best at being a wedding photographer if you're not spending your other hours looking at other people's photography,
right.
investing and figuring out what's like the new like trend or tool or whatever to be better at your craft? And then, yeah, so basically you were just like kind of like maybe a commodity at that point, because you couldn't really maybe compete with the best of the best because you didn't have both feet in. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
it just burned me out. It was
Yeah.
it was I didn't rely on it. So like the photographers that relied on it as a full-time job, like they were getting booked quite a bit. But then I would look at it and be like, oh, they got that client, and then I'm like, what? I don't. Anyway, so it was a good experience. But so you and I met several years ago, and I brought on digital position. I was the head of marketing for a startup, and you guys did SEO and paid search for several of our brands. And you got it right away that we needed leads. Like it was we need to we need to look at cost per click or impressions or any of that. And then at the time we were using HubSpot, and you guys wanted to have clarity into those marketing qualified leads that were going to HubSpot. So like right away, you guys got it. But there are a lot of agencies out there that just don't get it. And I've worked with a lot of clients that hire these agencies and they're reporting on website visits, cost per click, impressions. Maybe they report on conversions, but are those qualified conversions? They don't know. They keep telling the clients, hey, it's working. And the client's like, I don't really know if it's working. So you as a digital agency, I'm sure you see this come up a lot. Let's unpack that. How do you work with a client who's been working with an agency? They probably have they don't really know what kind of experience they're having. They just keep being told things are working. How do you work through that?
Yeah, I think we still see that a lot, and it kind of blows my mind, especially with all these tools and the advancements in marketing and with AI too. But I think that no matter what, the North Star for everybody is just your overall business metrics. I think for the longest time, people were focused on like platform metrics or marketing metrics, or the marketing department had their own metrics, versus like business metrics. Because at the end of the day, everybody rolls up to the CEO or the C-suite or the bean counters at the top. Doesn't really matter, and they need to know, okay, well, is what this department is doing or this agency or this expense, is it generating some sort of return? And then how efficient is that return? So that's the only thing that matters. And that's always been like very obvious since day one, because you can have the best story possible. Like, oh yeah, Google is doing really, really good, and like it's getting like a $5 ROAS, whatever, but the business could still be failing, right? The business could still be in the red because operating expenses are too high, or agency fees aren't baked into like the overall cost, and they're not realizing that, like, even though revenue is up, like all these fees and whatever cost of goods or shipping is all going up, and every product sold is actually costing them like a couple dollars, whatever. So yeah, that's the only thing that really matters. That's the only thing that we're ever focused on for any business. And if an agency if the agency couldn't speak to the C-suite or the CEO like in a meeting, then that should be probably the number one like red flag. Or if you are stuck translating information from the agency and then trying to like piecemeal stuff together and then like put together some sort of story to then go talk to the C-suite, then they're not making your job any easier either. So those are the things that I would, keep an eye out. And then, right now too, like if agencies aren't really efficient, if you don't feel like the value is there, if you don't feel like if you're getting something that you couldn't do yourself, which is getting harder now with AI, then that should be another red flag too.
Yeah. That piece about being able to tie it back to the overall, company metrics and how they are driving just revenue. I've never heard an agency talk like that before. That's the first time that I've heard an agency say, yeah, it's not just about like the return on ad spend or the conversions or getting marketing qualified leads, but also like, hey, how are your expenses looking? Like, how does this factor into your overall business and how it is getting just the revenue goals that you guys need for this year, but setting you up for the future as well. Like that's that's what's needed. And good partners need that, especially as a fractional CMO. Like I need somebody helping me look at that, and especially from the paid side and from the things you guys are doing with like SEO and GEO and just making sure that you're optimizing for AI searches. Like that's the type of brain that an agency needs to have and that marketing leaders need. Is that something that you kind of just found like in the work that you did with agencies or as you worked with clients? Like how did you get to that place where you're like, we're not going to do what everybody else is doing?
Yeah, it just kept coming up in different conversations. And I think agencies are looked at as a commodity unless they do that. And you just never want to be in that territory where you're just a commodity, right? Like no matter what type of business, if you're a SaaS company, if you're a service company, if you're a product, well, are a commodity oftentimes, but you always want to be like a little bit bigger than that. Whether that's the value or strategy that you're providing or your branding or whatever it might be. We learned that though, just because retention is a big issue, especially in the service-based industry. And if you don't have a seat at the table with the decision makers, and if you're not in good favor, then like who cares about you? Like they don't care about you. But
Right.
once you can start building a rapport with like the CEO and the CFO in many cases too, you're going to be, they're going to come defend you when it comes time to like look at the P&L and figure out like, hey, what's this, $5,000 expense here on marketing or whatever. Well, not only are they running our marketing, but they have the tribal knowledge of our business. If we were to even switch to somebody else, they wouldn't even know, all the things that digital position knows. They don't understand, our cogs, or they don't understand like the challenges that we have, like with like shipping to like certain areas, whatever, or like inventory challenges, whatever it might be. And, that alone could kind of like save a relationship in many cases.
Yeah. Well, and you guys, because you work with so many e-commerce clients over the years, I'm sure you see patterns and you can identify things that when they're in their own silo of their own company, even if they do have experience with e-commerce previously, I'm sure you guys can be like, hey, this actually is something you want to look at. So just being, like you mentioned, having a seat at the table, but just providing value, right? Consistently so you are sticky and they see your I won't say value again, but but they
Yeah.
see what you bring to literally what you bring to the table, and that cutting that expense cuts way more than just $5,000 a month. It cuts a tremendous opportunity and a voice that provides so much to them. So you mentioned AI, and I can imagine with e-commerce that comes up a lot with your clients. Where do you see it's actually useful, and where is it just noise?
Yeah. Okay. So where AI is useful right now, it's honestly it's changing all the time, but it really needs to help people like organize their thoughts. I think the biggest challenge, and maybe this is a reflection on myself, but it's like you have like this idea, or you have this task or something like that, and taking that first step or opening up that door to like go work on that task or whatever is sometimes the hardest. And AI helps you get over that hump, right? Like it makes like starting something or doing something a lot easier, and that's really great. I am like afraid about like the way people are looking at things. Is like I think people assume so much that like the AI can is just the solution or can solve any problem. But in reality, people are getting lazier and lazier, and then they're relying on AI, and then they just like they don't even check the output, and then they just go slap AI into an email, or oh, I can just create like 100 blogs. I don't need like an actual like writer. I don't need to spend time on this blog or whatever. Okay, well, like that blog is going to be meaningless because AI is just using all the different sources that already exist, and then it's just summarizing what's already out there, and now you're just part of the noise, and you actually don't really stand out. Or I mean, I was on a call the other day, and a CEO of a company was like, well, we need a new landing page. I just asked Claude would do it. Like, okay, well, like, yes, like Claude could probably redesign that landing page. Yes, but like, how are you going to go implement that? Is it going to, what are all the little details that you have no idea about, or to like get that live and going for you, right? Like, and that can be like a million things. Like, what about like from a technical perspective on SEO, like, and is it following all those best practices? Do you know how to go in there and technically like implement everything and all those different changes? Do you know how to add that or make that change to the website without breaking something? Or maybe you do figure out how to do it, all these things, but how much time did it just take you? How many mistakes did you make? And then the opportunity it costs again. Now, how much money did you lose by spending so much of your time and effort on this thing that you thought that AI could do really, really quickly?
Yeah. I mean, the landing page example, I think like there's a lot of people that think like that, or like we were saying 100 blogs, let me just spit out 100 blogs, but then you're like, okay, but how are you directing it? And even if Claude does spit out a landing page, like you mentioned, like to implement it, you do need some skill set there, but is it set up correctly? Is it set up for getting useful information above the fold and then guiding that user or prospect to eventually convert? And what are they converting on? Is it something that's strong enough? So having that knowledge and skill set still is very, very important. Do you find like that you're educating your clients as you go about here's how we're using AI, here's how it's working today? Like you said, it's the Wild West, it's changing all the time. Are you spending time more, you think, guiding and educating your clients on AI?
We're not yet, because I think everybody's in this like euphoric stage about AI where I'm not sure that you could really even tell anybody much. They have to kind of experience it at this point. It's very interesting. I think there's going to be like an awakening, maybe perhaps, where people are going to say, oh crap, like AI is actually not making my life better. Now I'm just like pulled in a million directions. I don't even know how to think. I don't know where to like focus my time and efforts. I'm too much of a generalist that now I'm not really good at anything. And yeah, now I need help or something. You can't ignore AI at this point. Like there's 100% like reality that like it's making things more efficient and that it needs to be worked into almost every single workflow, and retrieving information is way faster. Like I said, starting projects is way easier. But yeah, I think people are going to end up like realizing what's going on, and will end up having to help implement AI into people's like marketing systems. So like where I think things are going with like marketing is that, you know, people could manage like a tool to maybe like optimize Google ads or something like that, but you still need somebody who knows if like those changes are good or bad. Cause
Right.
I have a feeling that people are gonna, maybe they fire their agencies and they're like, I'm gonna manage all my paid ads through Claude. Okay, well, you're going to say, I want you to make the most money possible. And then Claude is going to say, okay, well, let me go optimize your account to make you the most money possible. But if it's optimizing towards an account and it doesn't actually have all the other context that it needs, such as like the business metrics and business like and financial, you know, information, it's just going to start pausing these things that maybe are actually really good for prospecting and generating awareness, because it actually doesn't have like a in-platform ROAS or return. Or it's going to shut off things that it feels like it doesn't make sense, and then keep putting more money into things like branded terms, like stuff that you don't actually need to spend as much money on, or you should be like capping your bids at. And then, yeah, it will optimize your account to, you know, get a better return, but in reality, your spend levels are going to drop. Like you won't be able to actually grow because you're not doing the right things, and it's like optimizing off actually the wrong metrics. So, yeah, all that plus everybody doing the exact same thing just means that everybody's going to look the same. So, yeah,
Yeah, and you just said like then you're bringing that in where you have to manage it. Like
yeah,
you're eliminating a resource. And when you said that, I was like, oh man, that is so true. I've done that myself where I'm like I'm trying to do way too much for my own business, and then I get overwhelmed and I'm like I just need to go back to using my resources and not trying to do this myself because I think I can save time. That no, it is overwhelming. So yeah, I think that was it. That point of just like, yeah, you can have AI do it, but you still have to manage it. Like that's not saving. That's not. You may think you're saving time, but no, man, you're gonna be spread across 100,000 things still. And I want to go back talking about just being spread thin. So when you went through this process of starting digital position with Roger, or joining with Roger, and then you started Spark Launch, and then you did consulting. There's one thing that you've done the whole time, and you mentioned you did take a break from it, but it's your fitness journey. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. You're a college swimmer, and you've been doing CrossFit for over 15 years. How has that shaped you as a person personally, and then how you show up in your business as a leader?
yeah. So it's definitely been something that's just ingrained in me, and I don't see a future where everything else in my life can change. Like even my kids can grow up and leave the house, or my job could change, or I could move to a different state, whatever. But like fitness is going to be something that will always be there for me, and something that I can always like rely on. I think that it's really important to have something that is kind of like generating like some sort of like goal, like a personal goal and like personal improvement in your life. And I would like encourage everybody to find something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, it definitely doesn't have to be CrossFit. I'm not like I don't really care about CrossFit. I just think that CrossFit is like the most efficient way of exercising for me at this stage in life. But how it like plays into, business, I think that you have to be uncomfortable. You have to be willing to do stuff that others aren't. You have to, you know, figure out how to deal with stress. You have to do things that you don't want to do. And that, I think I would like butcher it if I were to like recall everything that Huberman said, but he said that, it's a part of your brain that actually needs to be like exercised
Yeah.
to do things that make you feel uncomfortable. And the more you do it, the better off you are in terms of like being able to like cope with like challenges and changes. So working out is like a really good way to, get used to tough situations. Like, yeah, you don't really want to finish or complete that workout or lift that weight or run that mile, whatever it might be, but you just do it anyways. And then it makes it a little bit better when you're dealing with a tough client or somebody puts in their notice or somebody fires you, whatever it might be. You're like, okay, well, I can deal with this. I've been through similar situations. This isn't the hardest thing that I've done today. And I can get through it. So I think it's just a super important part of my life. And I would just encourage everybody else to kind of find some sort of like relationship with fitness in some way or another.
The last reps, like if you don't do them, nobody's counting, right? But you know that you didn't finish that set. So it is like just pushing through the difficult and uncomfortable, which I agree, it helps so much when you show up in business and just in your personal relationships. So when you took the break from fitness when you were working crazy, did you notice a difference like in just mentally and how you showed up in life and in business?
Yeah. So, well, I actually never took a break from working out because I would never really do that. But I took a
Okay.
break
Oh.
from just all like the different like rec sports and stuff like that. Like I was playing
Oh,
volleyball,
okay.
3 to 4 times a week. I'd play tournaments on the weekends, or I would, go to the gym and play like some pickup games, whatever it might be. And I just stopped all that kind of stuff. Maybe it was even like maybe golfing, like just I just
Okay.
tried to do like anything all the time. And that kind of stopped. And yeah, you kind of don't realize it, but that's less time that you're spending with other people in enjoyable situations. That's probably less laughter that you have in your life, right? Because you're just like not letting loose. Less competition to kind of keep like fueling that desire for like growth and change and stuff like that. So that definitely had an effect on my life and mentally. It was definitely something that was a little bit unhealthy for me. And yeah, I think that that's something that I kind of regret putting by the wayside. But then again, I don't know, it kind of goes back to like our original, like, or the beginning conversation where like you have to put, both feet into what you're doing if you want to be great at it. So,
Yeah. And I mean, it's a season. I think that was a season for you where you had to step away, just probably just mentally have balance. But then uh, I'm glad you said like, hey, I never took a complete break from fitness. Like that's my sacred ground. I'm not, that's going to stay. So I did want to do just a quick fire round of questions with you. They don't have to be yes or no,
mhm.
but just quick little fun ones. It's your last meal. What are you going to have?
Yeah, my last meal, man, I would probably have to say ribs. I don't know. Whenever I go to any barbecue place or any place that has ribs, I always end up getting it. I don't really know why. I just think it's like the best judge of like skills and cooking. Like it takes
Nice.
time. There's a lot of like technique that goes into it, and it's like difficult to master, in my opinion. I don't even make ribs, so I don't really know. But I
Okay.
just know that like when I go to different restaurants, like the taste and the quality varies a lot. So yeah, that's probably my favorite meal.
I was gonna ask if you make ribs. You're like, no, no,
No,
no. I just
it's
just
too
judge
hard.
it.
Yeah, yeah, it's too hard.
Is it? Oh my gosh, it's like a science too because you have to get the temperature right for so long, and then there's like the chemistry of the if you're marinating it or doing a dry rub or whatever you do to it like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a science, man.
It's also whenever you go out to eat, I like to think, well, I judge restaurants. Once I order my food and eat it, I'm like, could I have done that at home? And if I could do it at home, then that's a bad sign for that restaurant. So,
Hey, that's a very good tip. I've not thought about that.
yeah.
Okay, so we talked about your fitness journey, and if someone's starting out new or they haven't done it in a while, what's one tip you have for them?
On their fitness journey, I would say that you have to track something. There's so many people that start and they just think about this outcome. They're like, oh, I can't wait to be like fit, or I can't wait to like look this way or whatever. Or I think that I should do this and let me just like jump to taking like these supplements, whatever it might be. But if you're going to take anything, take any supplement, if you're going to do anything, like do any workout, you need to track what you're doing, or else you will not like remain motivated and you're not going to see progress. And you're going to have no reason. You're going to lose the reason why you're doing whatever you're doing. So yeah, you have to like track, like if you're going to go take supplements, you might as well go get blood work done and figure out what's your baseline. And then is that
Ooh,
supplement worth
yeah,
it or not? Because at some point you're
yeah,
going to say, why am I paying $40 a month for this supplement? And if you can't actually track what is doing to improve in your, like any metric in your life, then yeah, you probably shouldn't be taking it. It's a waste of money.
I would not expect anything less from you as a marketer. Like that's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really good tip, but also like, oh, all right, Steven. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's one habit that's made the biggest difference in your life?
The the habit right now, more recently than than when I was younger, is definitely sleep. Like I wish,
Oh, yeah.
man, and it's a hot topic these days, but I bars stayed open until 4 a.m. in college,
4
and I
a.m. Oh my God.
and I went to the bars like 5 nights a week sometimes, or at least out of season. Uh, I wonder how good I could have been academically or even in athletically if I just got the proper sleep. Sleep doesn't mean as much when you're younger. You can't tell the
Yeah.
difference. You can operate off like 2 hours of sleep and just be completely fine, or you think. But I wish
Yeah.
I kind of tracked that kind of stuff, and then I would just say I probably would have changed some of my habits if I tracked something like my sleep's quality. But yeah, as of right now, man, like sleeping, you just want to focus on going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time every single day. Like I think the grogginess that people experience is because you don't have like the right sleep consistency. Yeah, just like waking up at the same time, going to bed at the same time, like that has like a pretty big impact in your life. And then, yeah, just being the best version of yourself during the day in your awake hours. Yeah, that's got to be the most impactful thing, like even scientifically. So
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It impacts so much of your body. But you're a parent. You have a son, and you're getting ready to expect your next second child. So how do you balance getting rest when you're a parent? Are you trying to? Do you sometimes try to spread it out throughout the day, or I guess whenever you can?
uh, we do everything we can to get our kids on the same schedule or the same page as us. So even when I had a newborn, one second, my dog is barking. Kemba. Even when we had a newborn, my wife and I would just like take these shifts, or
Okay.
we tracked every single ounce of milk that he was eating, so that
Oh.
we knew that like before bed he was always drinking like 6 ounces, and at six, if he finished 6 ounces, then he would sleep throughout the night, or he would sleep 8 hours or whatever. But then always like taking shifts, like we just
Okay.
people typically their sleep cycle is like around 4 hours. So as long as I gave my wife 4 hours or she gave me four
Okay.
hours, we knew that we can get through one sleep cycle, and that kind of helped us too. So
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. You guys did that teamwork, and your
Yeah.
dog wanted to join in on that question too.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's no problem. All right. And then when you were a little Steven, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Yeah, I think I had some pretty big aspirations. For the longest time, I thought I wanted to be like a doctor,
Oh,
mainly because, well, especially back in the day, I think so now too. But I mean, doctors were so like revered, right? Like they're like the
hmm,
smartest people, like they're the most successful people like in our society. So I looked at that, but then also I wanted to be an Olympian like swimmer. That I
oh
was never
my.
even close to that. It's crazy to be to make it to the Olympics in swimming or in any sport. But as a kid, I don't know if I could see past like 18 or 20 years old. Right? It was like so hard to
Yeah.
even understand like what the world would look like or how I would be a part of society.
Yeah, that's true. Aw, and little Steven's little doctor bag. That's
Yeah,
cute.
I wasn't anywhere close to that. I pretty much hated school, so that was I quickly learned that doctor like being a
You're
doctor was
like,
not going to be it. Yeah.
yeah, that's not, oh man, that would have been a lot of years in school.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad I chose this route.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Stephen, for joining me today. I'm going to put your info in the description of this video and the info for Digital Position. And if you guys definitely follow Stephen on LinkedIn, he is very active. You post great things on there about marketing tips, paid search, even if your company's trying to identify like, are we doing the right things with our e-commerce business? Should we be doing more? What do we do about AI? He's a great resource for that. For everybody watching, thank you for watching this episode of What Am I Even Doing? And I'll see you on the next one.